I think we can kick it off. Thanks everyone for joining us. That's so exciting to see so many of you here. I'm not sure if I should say good morning, afternoon, or evening, so I'm sure that you're joining us from all over the world. My name is Marika Georgieva. I head of the events team here at the Customer Success Network. I am over the moon, honestly, to open the first episode of our Leaders Lab series, where leaders take on leaders. We're so excited to be partnering with the amazing Emilia D'Anzica, founder and CEO of Growth Molecules, for the next 6 episodes of our series. Thank you for joining us at the very start of our journey. I'm convinced that Emilia and her guests will ensure you don't regret it. Emilia, on this first episode, I just wanted to thank you for your partnership and for your dedication. We're so lucky to have you on board. Over to you.
Thank you so much for having me, Marika, and everyone at the network. I'm really excited to be here, even though it is 5 a.m. in Hawaii. But it looks more like you're in Hawaii than I am, Ziv. So without further ado, I'd love to share my screen and we'll kick it off right away, especially given that we only have 30 minutes. So Ziv, I'd love to know a little bit more about what it is you do and who you are. I'm sure people on the call as well would love to know too.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you for having me and on the first episode. I'm Ziv, I'm from Israel. I'm the Chief Customer Officer of Appsflyer. We're providing mobile attribution analytics to marketers all over the world. I joined the company 7.5 years ago and I was employee number 7. We're now a little bit over 1,050 people in the company, and I'm leading the customer success and customer support teams. We just crossed 230 people in 14 offices. So obviously we are customer obsessed, and as we invest heavily on the customer.
That's so exciting. And I see on your team that you have some people from WalkMe who I used to work with. So it's just been so exciting to watch your organization grow. And I should tell the audience that if you have questions for us, please do put them in the chat. Marika, I'm sure, will chime in and ask those questions as well. So thank you. So Ziv, let's dive right in. Tell us, what are the most common misunderstandings about health scores, especially given you have such a strong opinion, and I think some people would say it's controversial.
Yeah, that's an amazing topic, because I can definitely say that in the beginning, I was trying really hard to find the equation for an ELF score or a few ELF scores. And I think if you are in B2B SaaS, and if your product is not as simple as possible, or your market is not as simple, it will not be easy to build an ELF score. And even then, even if you build an ELF score, I think that even in regular days, you'll get some green accounts that will churn, and you'll get some red accounts that will never churn. And I think that in COVID, that was amplified. I'm sure that a lot of, maybe I can say the majority of companies with ELF scores had lots of reds, and they were not sure what to do. And I think that the combination we developed after we stopped looking at ELF scores, we started to work on a few processes that build the other side of things. And I think that if we focus on enterprise customers, customer success managers that manage 100K accounts, ARR and above, they should know the status of the account. And then from that, we develop the red flag alert. So that's a manual process where the CSM is actually raising a risk, raising some insight that tells us that now we need to handle that account, that red flag, and red flag cannot be opened for a few weeks or a few months. And we open it also by a category, and the category says if it's a product, what is the main issue here? Is it a product issue? Is it a commercial issue, pricing issue? Is it service or relationship issue. And then at some point around, it will soon be 2 years, I started to dig into what is a relationship. There's a relationship between the customer and the brand and the product. But then there's a very unique personal H2H, human to human relationship between the customer and the CSM. And then we really pushed on the development of that relationship. And today, again, we are not super developed around that, but we definitely took the enterprise segment and we developed that significant relationship framework.
So let's dive into that before we get to this next question. If I'm a leader of a company and I'm not using health scores and I'm reporting on a weekly cadence to all of the other executives, how are your customers doing? Ziv, tell us, how are you reporting? How do you know the pulse of your customers if you don't use a health score?
Great. So I'll take a few processes, not all the processes that we have, but a few processes. So the desired outcome is an object that we know what the customer, why the customer bought Appsflyer for, and then we know what is the status of that desired outcome, if it's achieved or not, or partially achieved, and how long is it open. It's related to the onboarding, but it's not only. So it lives also after the onboarding. The second part is definitely significant relationships. How deep are we involved in that account? What is the establishment of that account? And today we're starting in 2021, we're starting the initiative of having at least 4 significant relationships for an enterprise account. And then the red flags is the other side of things, is that how many accounts we have with red flags, and we also look at the time to renewal. So do we have customers that we are not sure that there will be a renewal? There's also a process of CSM is building a forecast for the renewal around 4 months before the renewal. So we have a lot of indicators, and in the end, we see that in one dashboard, and we understand the current situation.
And I'll just add to that from my experience, there is nothing worse than a CSM saying, but they don't know what they want. They don't know what their desired outcome was. They didn't buy the product. They're just the people implementing. And that's when relationships come into play even more. Well, why isn't that executive buyer on that kickoff call telling you? And how can that day-to-day user or person implementing possibly do a good job implementing if they don't know their desired outcome? So it's just really important that you're educating the team on how to ask the right questions and how to help the customer understand, well, what is that desired outcome? And then the second thing you said around relationships, often when I'm looking at working with clients, I go into their CRM and they might have one person tied to that account. And then the information isn't well documented, so I can't even contact that customer. And that's a poor excuse. Unless that company is a company of one, you can't possibly just put one relationship in your CRM and call that customer live or implemented, because you haven't done your job. So I'm 100% there with you. All right, so the next question. What do you wish you knew when you were first building health scores? For the people on the call who are thinking about health scores and relationships, what would you advise them?
Yeah, so I think that I could advise me 5 years ago, I would focus on how to build a score that is 100 built from all the things that are 100% in the capacity of the CSM to push. So all the things that the CSM, I spoke with another leader in the industry about it, and we called it the foundation. What is our current foundation in the account? From all the things that we can push, all the things that we can initiate or push or do, how many of those have we done? I think that's crucial, and maybe one of the next things that I'll try to develop. because in the end, I think it's a great metric, because in the ELF score metric, it's a metric you want to know, but also it's kind of measuring the CSM. In this metric is actually, it's a great visualization for the CSM to understand where can I push more. It's like, if I have 20 accounts and it's a lot of work, where can I push more? Where should I invest my next few days? I think it's critical.
And I have a session coming up later this year on customer success enablement with an expert on the topic, but I'm really curious, how do you educate your team on leveraging relationships and health scores? Because if you just announce, hey, we're going to use a different approach to understanding customers, and you don't educate or show them best practices, the chances of them actually implementing your process are poor. And when you have 200 plus people on your team, Ziv, surely you've developed an amazing program, especially given the success of your company. So give us your secrets.
Yes, I think it's built on three main things. So one, we invest a lot on the ongoing training, and a lot of it is, so we are building as we go all the time methodologies. Some of them are the processes, some of them, and we are training that. So there is in CS Ops, we have CS enablement, and we are training on that. And at the same time, we are also build or implement tools. And the last piece is in really to invest in soft skills. But if I take all of these together, then I think that the most important thing is lead by example. So if you build great teams and you promote someone to, most of our team leaders, directors, VPs grew from within. And the lead by example of that is something that you cannot fake. If either you have that or not. So if I believe in, and I say it a lot, I believe in being very responsive. If I believe in that, and if I practice that, today I don't almost do it with customers, but I do it internally on Slack, on email. And if my teams are seeing that I'm very responsive, then they will be very responsive. And I think that's a great example, because when you are very responsive with your, I can call a customer now and have a call with them, and I can tell them that they are a VIP customer. But when I'm very responsive to them, I'm letting them feel VIP, and it's much stronger. I think that's crucial.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. Nick Mehta tweeted something maybe a week ago around, regardless of your title, you need to get back to people quickly in email. Even if it's a long executive business review, yes, you may take a day to write that recap and next steps, but even a quick email saying, thanks, really excited about our continued partnership, expect a full recap and next steps tomorrow. I think that makes the person feel really like, okay, I was heard today and I'm making the right choice by continuing to partner with this company. So I love that you're enabling your team with tools, education, strong leadership, and the fact that you're promoting within is really exciting for people who are maybe starting their leadership career early on and might be impatient. I know when I was in my 20s, I was really impatient. Why am I not a director yet? But putting in your time and really understanding the processes and how things work will make you so much stronger as a leader. So great advice, Ziv. All right, the next one. What do you think can you give us more tips on what's a better approach to health scoring, and what kind of technology do you use?
So it's some of it is very industry related. So in our industry, our customers needs to integrate our SDKs, use different tools that we develop, and then it enables us that and other things enables us to also get insights of if someone is testing the competition. Also, we understand trends very, very fast. So that enables us to have insights that helps in the red flag alert process. But in addition to that, I think that again, going back to the relationship, if we are developing a good relationship, then it enables us to have a better view of the internal side of the customer. Because if you think about that, and this is why NPS doesn't work well in B2B SaaS and other tools, doesn't work well in B2B SaaS, because in the end, even let's say that I'm describing now one of my biggest enterprise customers, and they are a company of tens of thousands, maybe 100 people are interacting with Appsflyer, and the majority of them are in the marketing team, maybe a few in the product team, but also developers are using Appsflyer from time to time when they need to update something. And then even if I send NPS, or even if I speak to many people, I cannot understand the entire experience, the entire customer experience. Sometimes another person in the team has the bad experience with Appsflyer. It can be an invoice that finance got, or a bad experience with the support team of one of the developers that integrated our SDK. And then if I have a good relationship with one of the marketeers, or I said, now I want to have at least 4, then if that relationship is good enough, then I will get a good enough a good amount of time in order to know that there's an issue, to be able to manage it, to fix it. That was just one example. Another example is that one of the 4 is leaving the company. If I have a good relationship with them, they will tell me 2 months earlier, and then I will start establishing my next relationship. Maybe they even introduce me to the next champion. So that's crucial. And I think that the relationship, as we develop that relationship framework, we develop more and more of those things. And not only thinking about that customer, that person leaving, my current champion leaving, going to another company, my next step in the playbook is to understand if they are going to a prospect or a customer. Am I getting stronger in a customer or in a prospect? So I think that's also crucial. And just the last note on that side, I think investing in customer success, VCs, CEOs, things that they invest in fighting churn, or maybe strategizing the renewals, or maybe a better support. I think that the first thing that they should have in mind is they are building and increasing the relationship capital. Because in the end, in B2B SaaS, in our industry, in B2B SaaS, for the marketer changes jobs every 2 years. So while they are moving from company to company, we have customers now in their 9th year. So probably some of these marketers change jobs 4 times. And if we did a good job, if we provide the right value and great experience, and we develop the right relationship, they will want to continue the relationship with us, and that means more business.
Wow, that's a powerful story. You need those kind of case studies, right? Everyone's looking for those kind of case studies for their website. I know we have a lot of questions coming in. I want to make sure we ask these final 2 questions, because I think it will help the bigger audience. What are the top 3 takeaways that you want everyone to know about health scores and building these type of programs for their employees?
Yeah, so I'll say, first of all, I would do manual. I would test something manual and make sure it works before starting to implement the tool and invest a lot of money. I will start very, again, measuring. You can measure anything, but to take things that are relevant for KPIs, health scores, things like that, I will make sure that I'm taking a leading indicator and not a lagging indicator. I think it's crucial. And a third one is CS Ops. Just invest in CS Ops. When you get to a point, you have 10 CSMs, you have this amount of customers, you are $5 or $10 million ARR. Hire the first analyst. You don't. It's not a. It doesn't have to be 5 people. Just hire the first analyst, and that analyst, as the first, hire the right person.
I love that. And I did that as well at WalkMe. Right away, we need a CS Ops team. There's no way we'll hire 35 people this year and be able to scale across the world without a CS Ops team to really implement best practices and make sure we have the right technology in place. So last question before we get to the audience questions, and I'll be asking this all 6 leaders who I'll be interviewing this year. What do you think is the most important theme for CS leaders this year?
Yeah, so I think it's all about strategizing the renewals. I think that it's again, it's a process of all, maybe it's summarizing all processes, you know, understanding the desired outcomes, red flags during the year, the feedback 6 months before the renewal forecast of the CSM 5 to 4 months before the renewal, and then looking at all that information, strategizing the renewal, and in the end, I think that the best outcome of that is that the go-to-market team, the sales team, the growth team, the renewal team gets that pushed again 4 or 5 months ahead of time, and then you have time to really, when you are building that strategy, it lets you think about okay, so that account has some risk. Maybe we should do an early renewal, or maybe we should, when we do the renewal, maybe we should do a multi-year renewal, and then next year I don't have that specific thing on my mind. And the last thing, I think that for companies in after the hyper growth, then I think that it's the balance between the auto renewal, early renewal, but the multi-year renewal, I think that it's crucial. And after COVID, I think more and more companies will go that route.
I love that. I love all of that advice. So thank you. Let's get to some questions. Marika, do you want to let us know which one Ziv should be answering?
Thanks, Emilia and Ziv. That was super exciting. The amount of questions that we have is immense. So much interest from our audience. So I'll jump straight into it. There's one very interesting question here that I'm seeing from Tatiana. Do you or your team ever use relationship maps or mutual action maps as a tool to drive and grow a relationship or a partnership with a customer?
Yeah. So can you say that again? So I'm not sure if I understood correctly. If it's using the map or using for what?
Do you ever use a customer relationship map to grow and drive the relationship and partnership with a customer?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I think that in the end, one of the things that we are now looking at developing is that, as I said before, we can have 4 or 5 significant relationship in an enterprise account, but 60, 80, sometimes even more than 100 people will use the product. What we're trying to do now is that with other inputs that we have from the usage, we're going to suggest to CSMs other people that are heavy users of the product that might be significant relationships that we need to understand. And then again, it will not be automatic, it will be suggestion. And then the CSM should have common sense to understand if that person is a significant relationship. Should we develop the relationship with that person? And again, that's something that I think about for the long-term future is that also to understand there's 2 main things that I want to understand in a person for a significant relationship. I want to understand 2 dimensions, and both are the motivational aspect. What I want to understand, what is the motivational purpose of that person professionally? Where do they want to go? Are they looking to get promoted in that company? Are they going to another company soon? And also I want to understand what is their personal aspiration. Again, I will not be able to help all, but I think that the CSM that really understands people, in the end, when they are working well on those 2 dimensions, people will want to speak with them again, to connect with them again, to see what can they deliver again and again.
And before we get to another question, Marika, I'm going to jump in here. One of the questions that I know everyone wants to know is, where did Ziv get that T-shirt? Someone's asking about it, and I know that others are probably wondering the same thing.
Yeah, we have many T-shirts. So this is, by the way, the T-shirt that was initiated in the EMEA and LATAM customer success team. I believe that they are now around 70 people, but was initiated by the Russia team.
That's great. I love it.
I love
Um,
trendsetters, absolute trendsetters. Next thing you know, all of everyone in CS is wearing one of those.
I think we have time for one more question, and then we will figure out how to answer the rest in the Customer Success Network workplace channel, if that works for you, Marika.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. I have one question, Stefan. It's very interesting, perhaps a little challenging from Tom here. Thank you, Tom, for the question. Technically, in a good health score, you still have a weighted score that takes the different relationships into account. The customer sentiment, the service, tickets, for example, product usage, outcomes, and ROI. Isn't that still the easiest way to have a customer status in one glimpse of an eye, or would you still go for a relationship map?
Yeah, I will still go for the relationship map. I think in the end, there's a lot of, as I said before, we are developing a methodology which is built from many processes. We are developing and enabling more and more tools. We just expanded the Gong. Gong is going to be fully rolled out to all CSMs during this year as they support more and more languages. There's a lot of things. In the end, I think what I'm trying to do, and I said it in the webinar that I did in July, is that in the end, Dunbar says that we have the capacity of 150 significant relationships in our neurocortex, and it's including our family, friends, people in the company. And I work in a company of more than 1,000 people, so probably I don't have too much space. What we are trying to build for customer success managers is the ability to manage more relationships and then to prioritize and what should we invest next? Where should we invest next? What should be the next relationship to engage with? And I think that that's powerful. And again, as I said before, it doesn't say that we don't have an early warning systems. We have insights. We have our CS Ops developed, and we just roll out the 2.0 version, still on beta, but our Good Morning dashboard that enables the CSM in one dashboard in Looker to see everything that they need to know, from potential and opportunities to risk. And then with that risk, they decide if they open the red flag alert. And one of the very interesting things that we are now summarizing 2020, we understand now what is the possibility to save a red flag account on a product related issue versus commercial issue versus service issue. So we now maybe we live in tell CSMs where should they invest their time according to the category of the red flag. So I think in the end, to summarize my answer, I still don't believe we need to build an L score, because it's really, in the end, I see a very limited value in that. I think that what I said before, to build a metric that will show a CSM the level of investment they did in this account or in their portfolio, according to the actions that are in their control, I think that will be much more stronger. Because in the L score, sometimes you see, in seasonality in businesses that maybe their customers are not doing anything in Q4, then most of the accounts will be red in Q4. So I think that relationship and other processes are much more important to invest in.
Ziv, thank you so much for joining us. We have run out of time, and I'm seeing the questions coming in, and they're all so good. But I really appreciate your time, and I want to announce to everyone who's still on, next month we'll be having Sandy join us from Boy Health. They have experienced exponential growth this past year, even though it was COVID. And she'll be talking to us about why customer success should own revenue. So I hope you'll join us. And thank you to everyone who was able to join us today.